Hey everybody, Dave here, and well, I decided today I probably should start working on this Vega because the No Name Nationals is coming up pretty quick, and I need to get this car going, right? And I wanted to kind of take it out and drive it anyhow, so, you know. Anyhow, I got the carburetor torn apart and got it looked at and got it cleaned up, and we're ready to put it together. I got this kit from the internet. It's a quick fuel kit. If you want to see the part number there, 3-4700 AQFT. See that? That's the part number if you need one for your alcohol running vehicle. This is made especially for alcohol. And what I showed you guys before, if you remember, this float right there has got a little tiny pinhole in it. And when I took this float out, it was actually full of fuel, and it sat long enough now that the fuel is actually completely evaporated out. The alcohol is completely evaporated out. It's empty. I could actually solder that and reuse it. But I got online and figured out what part number it was for it. If you want to know, it's a 116-2. And I found this float on eBay. And once again, if you notice, it's yellowed plastic, so that means it's really old parts. It's all falling apart, busted apart. But this is an original Holley float that matches my float exactly. So it's the same float. So I'm going to use the brand new one. I'll save this old one. And if I need it, I can always solder that hole shut and hang on to it for later. But I don't need it. I'm going to go ahead and put this one on there. Okay. So let's get started on putting this carburetor together now that I've got it all cleaned up. And by the way, I don't know if you guys have ever seen or worked on a alcohol carburetor, but the passages in alcohol carburetors are gigantic because they dump a lot of fuel. Alcohol runs a lot cooler than gasoline does, so you can force a lot more of it into the cylinders. You can run a lot higher compression, and they open this thing up to levels I'm shocked to see. I wanted to find, where's the jets at? Where are they? I wanted to show you those. Where are they at? Well, what did I do with them? I don't know. Where are they at? Where's my jets? Dang it. Oh, there they are. They're hiding behind this. So these jets, I want to see if they have a number on them. Yeah, this is like, looks like it says 21 on it maybe. Oh, that can't be right. It's got to be bigger than that. Almost looks like it says 215 on it. That one says 210. But these jets, if you can see that, I mean, that is a massive hole. Jets are normally like a quarter that size or less when it's a gasoline-powered vehicle. But this alcohol, it wants a lot of fuel. It dumps a lot of fuel in there. And it's the same way with all the air bleeds on the carburetor. Normally you would take a very tiny piece of wire, like for a parts cleaning tag, and you'd run it down through all these air bleeds and just clean them out and then shoot carb cleaner down there to clean them out. But I took this spring from the float. I took that spring and I stuck it. I'll try to show it to you if I can. See how it fits down in there? It fits down in there. Not only does it fit down in there, it's loose. So I just ran that spring down through all those little air bleeds and just kind of cleaned them out to make sure they were good. And got them all cleaned out. I ran sprayed carburetor cleaner through all the patches on the carburetor. They're all cleaned out. They're all good. One thing that's unique about this carburetor that I've never seen before, because I've never worked on a carburetor like this, but it's a Holley, so they're all pretty much the same. But this does not have a base plate. The base plate on this carburetor is actually cast into the main body, so it's all one piece. So if you have a problem with your butterflies, if you got to fix them, then you have to tear the body apart to get them out. And it's also powder coated, which is probably good because alcohol is really hard on stuff, and the powder coating will hopefully make it last a little longer and keep the aluminum from corroding so bad. So anyhow, that's what that looks like. One thing I was noticing here, the linkage for the for the primaries to secondaries, it opens, the throttle opens about halfway before the secondaries open. So I guess that's typical for a alcohol carburetor. One thing I am noticing, I don't know if I need to adjust it or not, but one thing I am noticing, and that is that the rear butterflies do not open a full 90 degrees parallel, and they're able to, but they don't for some reason. I wonder if I need to make an adjustment to this linkage. I don't know. I might try that. Maybe that might help things run a little better, because they're not opening fully. They should be opening fully. Interesting. So I might change this linkage, move it down one hole, and see what happens. All right. So anyhow, let's go ahead and get started putting this thing together. So we don't need the main body to start with. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to, Bear wants some pettage. Right, Bear, you always want pettage when I'm working. Yeah. Yes, you always want pettage. Yeah. Little dum-dum dog. All right. Okay, so I'm going to set that down there. I'm going to take a bowl here, and when I cleaned this thing up initially, it had some gunk inside of it, especially in these passages here where the fuel goes through. And I didn't know how to get it out of there, but then I remembered I had this little kit that I've shown you guys before that I bought from Harbor Freight. It's a little wire brush kit. So I just took one of the little wire brushes, this one here, and I just put it on my drill, and I ran it up through these fuel passages and cleaned all the junk out of there, so they look really good. The side that's plugged up, like this side here's got a plug in it. That side there is going to have a lot of buildup in it because the fuel just sits in there. It doesn't move because the fuel's coming up here and it's going into the bowl, but some of it gets trapped on this side. So you really want to clean it up good and make it look nice. So I ran that brush through there, and I cleaned up a few other things with that wire brush too. But it came out actually pretty nice. Didn't have to do a whole lot of cleaning on it. You know, the biggest problem with this, obviously, with this carburetor was this float had a pinhole in it, and the float was half full of fuel. So my float level was constantly dumping fuel down the engine. So that was one reason why it didn't start, and one reason why it hydraulicked on me. I wish I would have known that. I wish the guy that sold it to me would have told me that, but he didn't bother telling me, so I didn't know. Look at these. These jets are like, it's really hard to read the numbers on them. But I'm just trying to see. They might all four be 210s. I can't tell for sure. It's just really hard to see the numbers. I know those two there are definitely a 210. And yeah, they're all 210s. Okay, they're all the same size. It's kind of weird because on this engine, on this carburetor I should say, normally you've got a primary circuit and a secondary circuit, and your secondary circuit is smaller than your primary circuit. Your primary circuit is what dumps the fuel initially down the carburetor into the engine, and your secondary circuit is a backup when you floor it that gives it extra fuel and extra air. But this carburetor here, all four corners are the same size. Everything's the same size. It's got 50cc pumps on the front and the back for the accelerator pumps. It's got these aftermarket circuit, can't remember what they're called now. Plates are basically identical. The only difference between them is that this one here has got what they call a jet extension on it. See that? So that's a jet extension. And these extensions go in the back bowl of the carburetor. And the reason they're in the back bowl is because if you think about it, when you're sitting on the line and you accelerate, the car is going to squat and in the back and lift in the front, and you might even lift the front tires off the ground if it wheelies on you. So it's going to tilt your carburetor so that the fuel is going to flow away from your jets. Well, you don't want to uncover your jets because you'll lean your system out. So these jet extensions push the jets further back into the fuel so that it never uncovers the jets and you never run out of fuel. So that's why that's on there, okay? All right, so I guess we can start putting this thing together. Get the bowls put together on it, the float bowls. So I'll just grab one of them here. And I don't know if this one here, because of the way the plug is, this one here would be the rear bowl. So, and the rear bowl is where these jet extensions are. So you've got this float here, and if you notice, it has notches in it. See the notch there, the notch there. So those notches are actually meant to go down and give room for the jet to move up, or I'm sorry, for the float to move up and down, and not, you know, hit against the jets and stop it from moving. So it gives it extra movement to be able to move up and down with as the fuel level rises and falls. So that's why that's notched. So you gotta remember that goes in the back bowl. And I gotta get the screws, put them in there. I cleaned all this stuff up as best I could. Some of it had some corrosion on it from the fuel. I'm not too concerned about it. I think it'll be okay. You know, it'd be nice if you could go out and buy brand new screws every time. You know, I don't know if anybody makes them or not, but if you guys know, let me know. But these bowl mounting screws, they're rusted kind of bad. I cleaned them up, and I'm gonna put something on before I put them in the carburetor. It's hopefully gonna help them. But somebody really needs to make these screws in stainless steel. If they had them in stainless steel, they wouldn't rust like this. But if there's anybody out there that knows where you can buy these in stainless steel or not, I'd probably buy a set and just put them on later, so I can take them off one at a time or replace them with a stainless steel one. That'd be great. But I don't know if they have them or not. But anyhow, we will see. So if you guys know about it, let me know, because I don't know. All right, so we're going to put that. Put that rear float in. It goes in the way it needs to go. Obviously, use this little screwdriver to get them in there, and then I'll try a little bigger one to tighten them up. You got to remember you're tightening into aluminum, so you don't need these things like, you know, torqued down like you're a muscle man or something. Well, I don't have a smaller a screwdriver that'll fit here, so I'm just going to go ahead and use this. Just get them good and snug. That's fine. I always double check them after I'm done, just to make sure I can't tweak them with just a little bit more. All right, that should be fine for that. You want to make sure your float moves up and down properly. Oh, I just realized something. I did not put this in correctly. That is not the correct way to put a float in, Dave. That's all right. It's been a while since I took this thing apart, so I'm not paying close attention here. All right. And since I'm taking this back apart, I'm going to go get a little bigger screwdriver that I can tighten these up a little better with. Okay. All right, I'll be back in just a minute. Let me grab another screwdriver. All right, I'm back. I can continue with this thing. Now, one thing I did notice, when I went to put this float in, it wasn't right. This arm was not on there right. And when the other guys over here helped me, I don't know if I disassembled it or they did, but it was reassembled wrong. So now it's reassembled the correct way. And I'll show you how it goes. It goes like that with the spring. The spring is in there. You can see the spring. You guys need to know that for the future if you're rebuilding a carburetor and you're not sure. So it goes like that, and then you put the screws in here, and your needle and seat sit right in here. Okay. So now we can put that in there, and it's correct. All right. Where's my screws? I kind of thought there was something wrong when I first put it in. I was like, well, that ain't right, because you can't, the needle valve's not touching where it needs to touch. So I took it apart, and it's like, oh, because it's backwards, that's why. when I do the other one on the other side, I'll show you how the spring goes in there. That way you can see it. One thing I really like about these aftermarket carburetors is instead of a sight plug here that you pull out and then you adjust your float level up and down until fuel runs out all over your engine and can start a fire, they pull those out and they make the bowl to where a little sight glass fits in there, a piece of glass. See that? You can see that glass. There's one on both sides. So that way you can adjust until you see the fuel at the bottom of the sight glass, and that's where you want to set your float level. So I'm going to snug them up good because I got a little bigger screwdriver now. Check them one more time. And once you get your float in, you always want to, check it to make sure it moves properly. And it does. So that's good. Should be okay there like that. Yeah. Okay. Now the other side, I got a new float for it, so we're going to have to assemble the whole thing together. Get my spring and my rod that connects everything together. So you want to put these together like that, like so. Then you can run your rod through one side. Then your spring has got a long end and a short end. See that? Can you see that okay? I don't know if you can see that or not. Get my hand up there. You probably could see it better. See the long end and the short end? The short end goes against the float arm, and the long end goes, there's a notch right here. You guys can see that notch where my fingernail is. There's a notch right there, and that's where that spring rides on the top part. So you want to put the spring in there so it sits on the uh-oh, where'd it go? Oh, there it is. Okay, I didn't drop it on the floor. That's good. All right. Put that spring so it sits in on the base of the float. Trying to get it to go in properly. Come on. All right, so I got there's actually a notch here too. See that little notch right there? I put the short end of the spring through that notch, and then the long end of the spring, you push this around and you bend that over and stick it into that notch in the top. See that? Oh, no, that's not right. I got it backwards, don't I? I thought there was something wrong with that. Yeah, I got it backwards. Sorry. Hold on. If I can get that thing to stay there. I got it backwards. Okay, let's try this again. Okay. I just did the other one. You think I would know? Dang it, that spring fell off on the floor again. That spring is kind of hard to hang on to because it's so small. All right. Fumble fingers Dave. There we go. Okay. So I'm telling you wrong. So actually the short end of the spring comes out the end of the tab that comes off the float. So the short end of the spring's right there, if you guys can see that. The long end of the spring is right here. So I want to bend that up and go under this bracket and back in front of it and into the notch. There. Now you can see where the spring is in the notch right there, sticking out right there by the notch. So now the spring looks like that. If you can see it, you can see it moving. It basically holds the float in the upward position for the most part. But as the fuel pump pushes fuel past the needle valve, it pushes the float open if it's low. But then once it's full, the fuel puts enough pressure against the float that it causes it to seal, and the fuel pump won't pump any more fuel into it. So that's how a float works. If you guys want to know, if you've never known, that's how it works. All right. Now we got that float assembled with a brand new, with this bowl going together with a brand new float. Drop my screw. Come on. Ain't alive. These screws, they kind of tight fitting in these threads. Kind of worries me a little bit. There we go. You put a steel screw into anything aluminum, and it's going to want to gall up after a while. So you have to. It's probably a good thing I took this carburetor apart, because they might have not come out if I'd left them in there much longer. That one went in fine. Some of them are tight, some of them are not. All right. Now again, that float, you can see it's moving. See how it's moving? It's on the spring. So that one's not quite as free as the other one was, but it's okay. It still moves. That's really all that matters, is that it moves and it's got a little spring tension on it. All right, so now we got those together. We can open up this kit, take a look at it. I haven't even opened it up yet. I already know what all is in here. It even says 4,500 alcohol on it, so that's how I know it's for alcohol carburetors. These are special gaskets for alcohol carburetors. And of course, we got several base plate gaskets. I'll probably end up using the blue ones because I think they're better for alcohol than the other ones are. Then we've got all the small parts in here. We got 250cc accelerator pump, accelerator pump assemblies there that we can use. We got two brand new needle and seats. Now these needle and seats on a gasoline carburetor, this needle valve right here will have a rubber end on it. But of course this is alcohol and a rubber end isn't going to cut it. So they're all steel. They're all steel. These are probably stainless steel needles, and of course the body assembly's brass. So, but I'm sure it seals really well. I'm not too worried about it. They've done enough. They know what they're doing. So then we want to screw those in, and I got my old needle and seat here. So I need to take a 5/8 wrench and put on that and break that loose. This little, if you guys got one of these in your toolbox, this is really good for setting needle or float levels on carburetors. So it's got a nice big end on it, but it's a really stubby screwdriver. It works really great for that. And it fits into that slot on that top screw really well. So if you got one of those, that's what they're good for. If you don't get one, you ought to try to find one. I don't know if there's a number on it or not. Let me see. Yeah, it's 41586. 41586 screwdriver, Craftsman. So if you want to find one of those on eBay or something, if you do a lot of work on carburetors and Holly carburetors, they work good for that. All right, now I got my old needle and seat here, and I can I could probably hang on to these because they're probably still usable because there's no rubber in them. This here obviously needs new gaskets, cleaned up and all that. So I'm going to have to scrape all this old gasket material off. I should have grabbed myself a razor blade, but I did not. Or maybe I can get it off with my knife, we'll see. Kind of hard to get the gasket material off these things because they're so small. I don't think they. Oh crap! Look at that. Never mind. I don't have to get the gasket material off of it because there's brand new ones in this little package. Well, that's kind of cool. I'm surprised they give you those, but they do. I did not know that. Alright, I need something. Let me go grab a parts tray to put this stuff in. If you guys don't have any of these, man, these little, they're magnetic parts trays, so they stick to, you can put them under your hood or whatever. If you're working, you can put nuts and bolts in them, you know, small stuff. You pick them up at Harbor Freight or wherever. They work really well. If you're working on stuff that has small parts in it, like carburetors, you should have a couple of these laying around because you don't end up having parts flying all over the floor and you're trying to find them. So, anyhow, we got all kinds of gaskets, all kinds of O-rings. That O-ring does not go on that, I know that. Man, we got E-clips, we got all kinds of stuff here. Wow, cool. We even got the little plugs for the vacuum. Oh my gosh. Huh. I went and cleaned up the idle adjustment screws, and I got new ones in here. I didn't know they gave you those. Man, this kit's like complete. It's got everything in it. That's pretty cool. So normally these float level screws have got like a round paper gasket. Looks kind of like that. That's what they look like. You got two of them. You got one that goes on the lockdown screw, and you got another one that goes between the float adjustment nut and the carburetor bowl. So I think that should be it. All right. So you want one. No, that's the wrong size. Okay. Well, let's see. I've got these like Teflon looking ones. They might be what I need to use. I don't know if I have enough of them or not. Nice. Let me try this real quick and see if it works. See if that's the right size. Oh yeah. Huh. So I got these little paper ones in here like this. That's what you normally use on a Holley carburetor. I got several of those. So I got a set of 4 of those. You can see those right there. But I also have a set. I'll try to show these to you. They're almost translucent. They're hard to see. I also have a set, if you can see those. Oh, I just dropped one. Dang it. See that? They're a little clear plastic like a Teflon. And they probably would work a lot better for alcohol than the paper ones will. So I'm going to use them because I think that's what they're for. You got 2 different sizes. The small one goes on your lockdown screw, and the large one goes over your seat adjustment and body that your needle and seat's in. So I'm going to put that on there like that. I think it's going to work great. All right, now for those of you that don't know, when you're adjusting a Holley float level on a carburetor that you're rebuilding, what you want to do, you want to adjust your float until the top of the float, which is, of course, this is the top of the float, right? The top, because this bowl mounts on the carburetor like that. This is the top of the carburetor. So you want to adjust it till the top of this is parallel to the inside top of your bowl, the carburetor bowl. So I'm gonna take, and I'm gonna turn. I could turn this by hand. It's pretty easy. Turn this until I basically just want to kind of eyeball it. It doesn't have to be exact because once you get it on the car, you're going to adjust it again anyhow. But probably, if you guys can see that, that's pretty close to being level. Basically, you want a parallel surface between the top of your float and the bottom of the top of the bowl. So if I turn it this way, well, if I turn it this way and I push up on the float so it seats against the seat, I want these two surfaces, the top of the float and the bottom of it in here, to be parallel to each other. See that? That's pretty close. It may not be exactly where I need it to be, but that's a good baseline I can start it with. I'm going to look at it again one more time. That looks really close. I think I'm going to call that good. And then I'm going to take my... And once you get your float level set, then this screwdriver is what you'd use to turn this lockdown screw. And I'm not going to lock it down real tight because I'm probably going to have to readjust it, so I'm just going to snug it up. That's good. So now that float's set up right. Okay, and then the next thing we need to do, we need to put our accelerator pumps in there. And we got these little doodads there. They're like a little one-way valve. So when you press on your gas pedal and your accelerator pump pushes fuel into the carburetor, then the fuel flows past these, but then it can't come back because it pushes back against them, so it can't flow back against them. And I'm trying to remember which way they go. So they would go right. No. Dang, I wish I'd left them on the other carburetor. Alright, I don't want to tell you guys wrong, so I'm gonna look at my other carburetors and then I'll be right back. I just want to make sure I do it right. I think I know how it goes. I think it goes inside here because the fuel pushes through here. Well, no, that's not right either. Yeah. No, they go this way. They go the way I just had them, because fuel runs from your bowl in these holes and fills up your accelerator pump, fills it up with fuel, and then once it's full, and when you press the throttle, so this arm is down like that. When you press the throttle, it pushes the diaphragm, collapses it downward like that. So when this arm collapses the diaphragm down, it forces fuel out this little hole right here and up into through your squirters. So you want this to be in there like that, so that it pushes the fuel out as this arm is pushing. It pushes fuel against this and seals it, so it doesn't push fuel back into your bowl. So that's how that goes. It goes like that. Okay. I thought I had it right. I was about ready to get up, but then I remembered that's correct. That's the correct way. So we got 2 of those. I'm going to go ahead and put them both in now. We don't have to worry about it. And you just basically it's got a little tit on the end of it. See the little tit right there? You put it through the center hole. It's got 3 holes. See the 3 holes there? So it's got 3 holes. You put it through the center hole, and you can get a pair of pliers if you want to, but I just take my fingers and I just gently pull on it until it pops through. Like that. There you go. The little tit sticking out on the inside, you can see that, okay? So that's how that looks. Okay, so we got those in place. Now we want to put the accelerator pump assembly on. And this is a 50cc. Most carburetors have a 30cc, but you can get a 50cc gasoline accelerator pump diaphragm if you want one. You can get a aftermarket or a upgrade assembly from Holley where you can add these 50cc accelerator pump bodies on there and get a bigger fuel shot when you take off. A lot of racers use them. You don't want to forget your spring. You got a spring in here, and that spring sits inside the diaphragm like that. See, it's got that little cup in there. It sits in there. So you put your spring in there, and the arm goes toward the outside of the carburetor because it grabs onto the linkage. So you want to put that like that. And then I got to find all my accelerator pump screws. They're going to be longer screws because they're 50cc pumps. And get those started. Again, these are small screws, so you need a small screwdriver to put them in with. These are actually Phillips heads, so you'll need a Phillips head screwdriver for that. I notice this arm on this thing is bent a little bit. Let me look at this a second. Well, they're both, see how the arm is bent? See, it's bent a little bit, but they're both bent. If you can see that, they're both bent the same way. So I guess it doesn't really matter. I hope it doesn't anyhow. But if I got to bend them, I can always bend them. Not too worried about it. All right, now I'll take my Phillips screwdriver. Put that like that. Get these. I usually snug them up first, and I go back and tighten them up a little more. Again, you got to remember you're screwing a steel screw into aluminum housing, so you don't need to like crank it down like Hercules. You just need it to be good and snug. All you care about is that it doesn't leak fuel. This Phillips screwdriver is almost too long for me. I need a shorter Phillips screwdriver. I don't know why I grabbed this one. I'm going to check it one more time just to make sure they're snug. Again, I'm not twisting real super hard on them. I'm just getting them good and tight. There we go. All right. And then you always want to check to make sure your diaphragm operates properly, and it does. It feels good and strong. So that's pretty much done. That bowl is pretty much ready to go. I got to put this piece on too that the fuel line hooks to. Where's it? It's right here, and it looks like I've also got new Teflon gaskets for that. So I probably don't need them. These are probably fine. But I'd rather be safe than sorry. So I need a place to put these old parts I'm not going to use. I'll just set them over there for now. Okay, and I'm not going to need that needle and seat. I'm not going to need that needle and seat. So I'm going to take and I'm going to get one of these Teflon O-rings. And they all look to me like they're basically the same size. Oh, there's an E-clip. I don't know why that's in there, but I got one. I'm going to compare them just to make sure. Yeah, so I got 4 of those, and that's good because I could actually use a couple of them. Well, I guess I could use a couple of them on this, but I don't really need it because it's got rubber gaskets on it. So I got 4 of those. I got a couple extras. So then I put that in there. Oh, wait a minute. No, I don't have extras. I forgot I got this plug on this side. And again, these Teflon gaskets that are on here are probably fine. I mean, I can save them if I need one in an emergency. You know, if I'm out on the track and I have a leak or something, or I need one in an emergency, I can always have these used ones. I mean, they'll work again. So, I got the plug on one side and the fuel line attachment on the other side. So, I need to remember to tighten these up when I put the carburetor together. I think I got a wrencher that'll fit. I want to see. I think they're like a 1 inch. Yeah, so these are a 1 inch. I'm not, well, that one's not. That one's like a 3/4. The plug is smaller. No, it's not a 3/4. Okay, it's a 13 or 7/8. There we go. No, it's not a 7/8. It's a 13/16. I don't have a 13/16. All right. Let me go grab one. I snugged that up, but I'll snug it up again once I get the carburetor together. It's just hard to hang on to that bowl and turn a big wrench like this. Let me go grab a 13/16 socket or end wrench because I need one. Okay, easy peasy. All right, so that should be, yeah, see, that's a 13/16. And these Teflon gaskets, you don't have to like crank them down super tight, because if you do, they'll probably break or stretch out. So again, you just need them to be snug. All you're looking for is that it doesn't leak fuel. I don't even know if I might be able to tighten this one up enough too. Yeah, I think I probably can. Yeah, that's probably tight enough. All right. So now that float is pretty much assembled, ready to go. All right, let's do the next one. Get it put together. We already got our one-way valve in there, so we don't have to worry about that. We want to remember our spring. And then our fuel pump, or accelerator pump diaphragm, and where's my cover? There it is. Accelerator pump cover, housing, whatever you want to call it. And then I got 4 screws here that hold it together. One thing I don't see at this kit, and I don't understand why I don't see it, because this kit is not a cheap kit. I think it cost me around, I want to say $85 for a kit. It's pretty expensive. But the one thing I don't see in it, oh wait a minute, yeah I do. I didn't think it had the little Teflon gaskets that go on the float bowl screws, but it's actually got black ones. They're hard to see in there, so there's black ones, see that? So I guess I do have those. I was going to be kind of upset if I paid that much money and didn't even get the float bowl screw gaskets. There's 8 of those. All right. It's weird how this is powder coated black and these are the standard holly color, but it would be kind of hard to powder coat this, I guess, because it's got the moving parts. I don't know. It's weird that they didn't powder coat them too. But I guess I didn't think it needed it. And it probably doesn't. Again, I'm just going around snugging these down, make sure they're good and tight. My screwdriver slipped on that one. I don't want to strip them out. Like I said, all you're looking for is just to make sure they don't leak fuel. That's really all that matters. Okay, so we got that in place. Again, we'll make sure it's working properly. It feels right. Well, that's good. All right, and then we can take this plug off. And again, we'll use a new gasket on it, even though it probably doesn't need a new gasket. We'll use one anyhow, since we have them. All right. There we go. And we need our inlet. Well, that's got... Oh, okay. That goes on the fuel pressure regulator. Here's our inlet. Fuel inlet fitting for our fuel log. All right, so that goes there. If I can get it to go in, it's like hanging up on me for some reason. There it goes. You want to, oops. Oh my gosh, I did it backwards. Okay, yeah, you always want to check these, because this is my rear bowl, because it has the notches for the jet extensions. So this is my bowl. My fuel log is on the driver or passenger side, so this would be correct. And then when I did this side, see what I did? I did it backwards. I put the plug on this side and the fitting on that side. So it's a good idea to check. Try to put it together and it doesn't work. And you're like, why doesn't it work? So now I have to take this back apart because I did it wrong. Because I'm human. That's a good thing about these Teflon gaskets. You can take it loose, you know, and put it back together several times and not damage them like a paper gasket. A lot of times when you tighten a paper gasket up the first time, if you try to loosen it up, it damages it. So I like these Teflon bowl gaskets. That's nice. Okay, so let's swap these two, because like a dum-dum, I did it wrong. I put them on backwards. But that's okay. We're just building it now. We're not worried about it. No big deal. We'll swap them out and we'll be good to go. All right. Okay, so we'll snug that back up again one more time. That should be plenty tight. You know, I can always put this, the good thing about having an electric fuel pump, you can put this on this carburetor on the car, and you can flip on the fuel pump and fill the carburetor up with fuel and check for leaks and not even have to start the car. That's what's nice. I like that about it. Don't have to worry about having a fire, trying to adjust the float on a car that's running because you don't have an electric fuel pump on it. All right, I'm going to say that's probably good on that side. And then I don't know why I put that wrench down, because now I need to do this one. Once I get it on the car, I can always, you know, like I said, run the fuel pump, and if these are seeping a little bit, I can always snug them up a little more till they stop seeping. But you get them tight, you know. I mean, this wrench, I got a lot of leverage on it, and the other one's even bigger, so you got to remember that. You're actually putting quite a bit of tension on this, just tightening it up like this. All right, I'm going to say that's good for that. Okay, so now both of our carburetor bowls are put together. So now we need to assemble our metering bodies. And this it's interesting how this carburetor is made, this alcohol carburetor, because normally you have a power valve here that opens and closes to allow fuel to flow through your jets. But apparently you don't need that on this, because it uses so much fuel. So these are what's called a power valve plug. Okay, there's one on the primary and the secondary side. A lot of carburetors don't have a metering block. That's what it's called. It's called a metering block. I don't know why I couldn't remember that. A lot of these don't have a metering block on the secondary side, but this carburetor does, because it's a racing carburetor, and you want to have what they call four corner adjustments, which means you can adjust all four sides of all four barrels of the carburetor. You can adjust them individually to get your tune right. So you want to put this power valve plug in there, and I got a red a red gasket. I'm assuming it's alcohol proof. And these are always 1 inch. Power valves are always a 1 inch. And again, you got a gigantic wrench here. You don't have to crank the snot out of it. Just get it good and snug. Like that. There we go. And then we want to put the jets in. And like I said, those look, all four look identical to me, so I'm not even going to worry about it. You guys that run alcohol carburetors, let me comment below in the comments and let me know if it's common for the front and the rear jets to be the same size on an alcohol carburetor, alcohol engine. Because I normally on a gas engine, normally you don't even have a secondary metering block on a gasoline engine. And if you do add one, it's so you can have 4-corner adjustment. But your rear jets will be smaller than your front jets because you want your initial shot of fuel to be your biggest shot to give you takeoff power. And then your secondaries are a smaller amount of fuel. But this thing here, all four of these are gigantic. They're all four the same size, it looks to me like. So I'm going to just assume they are because I don't see any numbers on them that indicate any different. They all four look like it says 210 on it, which, I mean, a 60 or a 70 jet is considered a pretty good sized jet. If these are a 210, that's gigantic. What the heck? Okay, I don't like that. That jet. That jet looks like it's threaded in there crooked. Let me try a different one. I hope that's not the case. Oh, that looks better. And there's no gasket on the jet. It just screws straight into the body. Yeah, that jet is a little crooked. I don't know why it's that way. That's kind of poor engineering on the part of the people that built this carburetor, that built these. It's called Venom 2. You see that? It says Venom 2 on there. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. And I don't know if you can see this or not. I'll show it to you. But this jet here is not flat. It's kind of, see how this one's flat? This one here is kind of angled inward a little bit. Well, I don't know why it's like that. It shouldn't be. But whoever machined those threads into that metering block didn't do a very good job. That's kind of screwed up. And then of course the rear one, we have the jet extensions. So we're going to screw our jets directly into the jet extensions. I did not remove these jet extensions. I didn't feel the need to. So I just left them on there. I really didn't even have to remove the jets because they're so massive that there's no way they're going to plug up with anything. All right. And now we've got to remember to put in our idle circuit screws. So they go in the side of the metering blocks. And like I said, this one has what's called 4-corner adjustment. Normally they only have 2 of these in the front you adjust your idle mixture with. But this one has 4 corners, which probably so you can have more finer adjustment with it, I guess. And there should be, yeah. So there's these little, I believe these are the correct gaskets. These little, I don't know whether you guys can see that little cork, these little cork gaskets. And they should fit right in that hole where, yeah, see that? They fit right in there where that goes. See how they fit in there? So that's what you want. You want to use those cork gaskets. And then screw these in there. If I can get it to go. There we go. I'm glad they gave you these needle valves because, like I said before, alcohol is really corrosive, and to have these needle valves here, these idle adjustment screws here, they're stainless steel. I can tell by looking at them they're stainless steel, so that's good. Now you want to, once you get these idle circuit adjustment screws in, I'll show you when I get the other side done. Don't forget your cork gasket. You got to be careful not to cross thread it. You cross thread it and you're in trouble. So you want to feel it as you screw it in and make sure it's screwing in properly. That one there started to feel like it was cross threading, so I backed it back out and put it back in, and now it's fine. You got to definitely be careful for that. Okay, so once you get your idle adjustment screws in, your initial adjustment, I'm not sure what it is on alcohol carburetor because again, I've never built one, but on a standard Holley, you want to turn it all the way in until it bottoms and then turn it out 1.5 turns. So there's a half, 1.5. Same way with this side, make sure it's all the way in, turn it out half, 1.5. Okay, so that should be correct. All right, and now, oh, I need to put my power valve plug in this one. Don't want to forget that. I did the other one, didn't do this one. And this gasket's kind of tricky. You got to make sure it lines up on the shoulder of the power valve. There's a shoulder that it sits on, so you want to make sure that gasket lines up. If you get it off, then you tighten it up, and you may have a leak. So you want to make sure it's set in the right place on that power valve or power valve plug, but in most cases it'd just be the power valve itself, not the plug. This is the first carburetor. I've rebuilt, I don't know, dozens of Holley carburetors, and I own probably 20 of them, and I've never seen a power valve plug using a carburetor till now. So it's not very common to see a power valve plug. But obviously in this case you want fuel dumping into the engine as much as possible to produce the most power you possibly can. Check that one more time. All right, that's good. Check this one more time. Doesn't hurt to double check yourself. You know, it's better to check twice and know you did it right than only check once and screw something up. Check my jets one more time. Make sure they're good and snug. Yep, they're good. Now I gotta that metering block is done. Oh no, it's not done. Actually, it's not done. Now I need to put these are called anti-slosh tubes, and they go in the top of the metering block, so they sit there, and there's a little aluminum rivet, if you guys can see that holds them in place, goes in the top here, and I probably got to tap it in with something, but it's going to be fun to try to line all that up. Okay, there we go. I can use this to tap those rivets down with. My little 1/4-inch drive ratchet. Trying to get them to drive down in there. Dang, those don't want to go for some reason. Uh-oh. It's hard to do this because you can't see the hole to line them up. Wow. All right, I'm going to take that out and just drive this in a little bit. Oh, well, it drove in all right. It drove in all the way. All right, I didn't want it to go in all the way. I can get a screwdriver in here and open it back. Oh, well, see how it just comes right out. That's weird. Ah, there we go. Okay. All right, so that's the anti-slosh valve. So again, as you're accelerating, your fuel is going to, this is the rear metering block. So as you're accelerating, the fuel is going to want to push back. So this allows air to move. Let's see how that goes. that keeps fuel from starving itself here. So as your fuel pushes back, this still remains submerged in fuel. No, that's not submerged in fuel because that's the top. So that must be for air. I don't know. I've got these on another carburetor. I just never really thought about what they're for. It's interesting. And here's something else. Here's your fuel passages for your jets. They're bored out. They're huge, gigantic, to allow that alcohol to flow through there. Okay, so I got that one in place. All right, let me put the slosh valve on this one. I guess maybe these would keep fuel from accidentally spilling into the front part of the carburetor or the body of the carburetor. That must be what they're for. I don't remember. You guys tell me. What are these anti-slosh valves for? Or you could almost call it an anti-slosh horn, I guess, kind of. That's what it looks like to me. There we go. That one went in a little easier. There we go. Okay, so now we got those done. And, oh, we need to put the idle circuit screws in this. Haven't done that yet. I need a corkscrew. I'm going to push that in there. I'm going to get this thing started. It's kind of hot in my shop today. It's raining outside. And the humidity is really high. It's uncomfortable in here today. I need a fan blowing, but if I had a fan blowing, you guys wouldn't be able to hear me, so I'm just going to have to suffer, I guess. All right, so that's in all the way. We got one more here, one more cork gasket. You don't want to forget these cork gaskets on these things because they can bleed air by them screws if you don't put those cork gaskets in there. So you don't want that to happen. Come on, get in there. There we go. All right. Okay, so those are in all the way. Again, I'm going to turn them out 1.5 turns. There's a half, 1.5, a half, and 1.5. Okay, so they're all turned out 1.5 turns. That may be too much. It may be not enough. Again, you guys that are experts in alcohol carburetors, you can comment and tell me if I'm right or wrong because I don't know. Okay, so we got all that together now. We got a whole bunch of extra gaskets and clips and all kinds of stuff we're probably not going to need. Wow, we got a bunch of stuff. Oh, I don't want to lose that. I don't know what those are. Little pieces of like curled up plastic. Interesting. Little pieces of curled up Teflon. Maybe you can use those to open the carburetor, take the carburetor apart, and re-bush the throttle plates. I don't know. I'm not going to do that though. I don't trust myself that much. Some slimy goop in there. I tried to clean this thing up as best I could. I didn't soak it in carburetor cleaner. I didn't want to do that. So I just cleaned it up. All right, so your throttle cable is on the driver's side. So this would be the driver's side of the carburetor, which means this is the back, this is the front. So I'm going to make sure I put the right bowl in the right spot. And what I also want to do, I told you guys in the past, don't throw anything away until you're done with the project, right? And well, looks like I am missing one gasket, but I'm not too worried about it. So I've got this gasket that goes between the carburetor body and the bowl, right? So I want to look at that. This is actually, I could take this pattern of the powder coating and compare it to what's missing here, and it looks like it's pretty close to being the same. So this gasket here is the rear gasket. The front gasket, to tell you the truth, is probably the same. All right, so I'm going to take my rear bowl, which is this one, and my rear metering block, which is this one, the one with the jet extensions on it. So then I need to find a gasket that's the same as this one is, or at least close to it. This is a quick fuel kit, so it may not be exactly the same, but they give you a whole bunch of, I mean, there's like four different gaskets here. It's kind of weird because these two here have got like a, if you can see that humped up area on the corners, they got that. That one's the same way, see that? I don't think those are right. Then it's got these two that are, oh boy. Oh, wait a minute. Okay. Yeah, I noticed the original ones had this rectangular slot, and I thought that might be for that anti-slosh tube, but it's not. So these should be the same. You want to compare them. Just set them side by side and look at where your holes are at. Your metering block has got pins on it. Okay, it's got alignment pins. So there's one here and one here. So this gasket originally went like that. And the other reason I know that is because where these transfer slots are here, the gasket is kind of puffed out because it didn't touch anything, so it stayed puffed out when I tightened it. When they tightened it down, it smashed the gasket all around them and left those marks, so I know that goes like that. So I want to make sure my other gasket goes the same way. So it should go oh, that must be the front. No. What the heck? Okay, that's interesting. Huh. All right, let me look at this. It's interesting that Quick Fuel makes their gaskets a little different. So I'm going to compare that one to that one and see what it looks like. Whoops. So actually, the one with the little humped up section on it right there, whoa, I'm going to drop that on the floor. It's an expensive carburetor. I've got that arm in the way. So actually, the one that's humped up, it matches this better. This one here, it's not humped up, doesn't match it at all. It doesn't have alignment pins in the right spot, nothing. That's kind of weird. I'm surprised it doesn't, because you'd think it would. Oh, no, yeah, it does. All right, I'm spacing off here. Hold on. I guess I just wasn't holding my mouth right on that. All right, let me compare these again. So that one there, yeah, there's a lot more. I screw up? Oh crap, I screwed up. Okay, I screwed up. I put the tube the wrong way. Nice. Well, it's not hard to change it. You just pop the rivet out with a screwdriver, like so. I wasn't paying very close attention, was I? Goes that way. There we go. And where's my ratchet? All right. So that one fits on that one. That fits on that one as well. Okay. Yeah. So this gasket's pretty much the same for the front and the back metering block. But I didn't think this was going to line up, but it actually does. I believe. Let's see. I got to figure it out here. Yeah, there it goes. I just didn't have it flipped the right way. Okay, so it does line up. Okay, so that goes there. And let me check my holes. Make sure they all are the same. These gaskets feel really weird in my hand. They're not like this. This is like a paper. This is almost like a rubbery substance. I'll bet it lasts a lot longer than these blue gaskets do for alcohol. Yeah, see now all my holes line up. Yep, everything lines up. Okay. All right, so that goes on there like that. And we flip that over and it sits like that. And then we want to put our accelerator pump, but you want to remember to put this arm in the right position, because if you put this on and you don't put the arm in the right position, you're not gonna have an accelerator pump. All right, now take these bowl screws, and they're all the same size, so I can drop my new black gaskets on them. See the black gasket? You can see that. So they go on there, and that's what my, where is it at? That's what my, oh, you know what? Oh, crap. Woo! I almost forgot something, didn't I? Almost forgot something. I almost forgot to put my new needle and seat in this bowl and adjust my float level. Wow, what a dork. Well, I didn't forget him. I saw it at the last second there. That's okay. All right, so again, we're gonna adjust the float. The rear float sits down a little lower in the carburetor body, so it's going to be kind of harder to get your float level set where you want it to be. Somewhere probably right in there. I'll show it to you here in a second. I got to get my lockdown screw and the Teflon washer for it. Put it in place. All right, where's my big screwdriver at? There it is. Again, I'm just going to snug that up. So now you can see that float is pretty much parallel with the top, inside of the top of the bowl. I can also turn it this way and just push up on the float so it's bottoming out on the seat. You can see it's pretty much level. So that's where you want it to be. I almost forgot to put that on. I'm glad I paid attention to that. Oh, and I might want to put a gasket on this too. So it goes like that. You want to make sure your holes line up. Let's see. I want to make sure there's, okay, yeah. All right, make sure my holes line up. That looks good. Again, I want to make sure my arm's in the right position. I want to make sure this arm's in the right position. All right, now I can put my bolts on to hold everything together on this side. And where's my socket? There it is. All right, there we go. Another gasket. gasket. I like the fact that these Teflon gaskets are black because they kind of blend in with the carburetor. They don't stand out like the white ones did. That's kind of nice. Oops. I don't need those. They gave you plenty of extra parts for this carburetor kit. I can tell you that much. I ain't going to use everything in there, that's for sure. Alright, now I can snug these up. I'm not going to tighten them up super tight to start with. Just going to get them snug until I get the carburetor all the way together, and I kind of do an inspection on it, make sure everything looks right. Let's get them snug for now. It should be fine, but I'm just not ready to tighten them up all the way yet. These have to be fairly tight because you want to squash the gaskets a little bit when you tighten them up. Okay, so there's that. And this one's going to be a little more difficult because I got the bowl on the other end. And I do have the float on this one, so I don't have to second guess myself there. Alright, and then I got, let's see, that's going to line up like that. That looks good. Your alignment pins also align the metering block to the carburetor body itself. Alright, then I got another one of these. There we go. All that's good. I can check my jets one more time. I double check my rear ones. I didn't double check my front ones. And this carburetor, or this screwdriver is really good for jets too, because it's got a nice flat, wide blade on it. So it's really good for changing jets too out in the field. I'm going to flip my throttle lever over. Alright, accelerator pump lever I should say, not throttle lever. Okay. And then we can put this side together with the gaskets, new gaskets. You know what, I forgot something. Well, it's okay. I was thinking about putting some wheel bearing grease on these bolts, but I realize that once you fill the carburetor up with fuel, that it's going to seep down in there. It's just going to evaporate, or not evaporate, but dissolve the grease. So it's not really going to do anything anyhow. So it's really not going to help. Like I said, if you guys know about stainless steel bolts like this, let me know. I can look online myself, but if you know about it, let me know. I'd appreciate it. Okay, that's 3 of the 4 bolts. I need one more mounting screw gasket. I got that there. All right, what do I do with my socket? Oh, there it is over there. Okay. I always like to start these by hand just to make sure I can feel that they're not being cross-threaded when I put them in, because you are screwed steel into aluminum, and if you cross-thread it, you're probably going to be in trouble. So I just like to start them by hand to make sure they're going in properly. Once they're in, you're fine. But all right, now we can tighten these up, snug them up a little bit. I usually do it just a little at a time. Just keep going from corner to corner until they're where I think they need to be. Try to get them all 4 even if I can, but like I said, I'm not tightening them up all the way yet anyhow, so I want to make sure my fuel log line fits in there and all that. So alright, so now we've got the carburetor assembled, we've got our floats adjusted. It's a good idea to run the throttle plates and make sure everything works, make sure your fuel accelerator pumps do what they're supposed to do, and they do. I want you guys to notice, if you can see this, when I give this thing the throttle all the way open, these secondary plates, see how I got a little bit of movement in those? I almost think I need to have them open up all the way, but I don't know, maybe I don't. That's how it was adjusted up. I probably should leave it alone for now, and if I think I can do something with it different with it out on the track, then I can always change it out there. But it's been this way for a while, so I think it's going to be fine. All right, so now we've got all that together, and on a lot of carburetors, this fuel log will go towards the back of the engine, but on my carburetor, let's see, yeah, my carburetor, it goes towards the front because the fuel line is coming up through the frame in front of the engine, and it's a huge fuel line. It's like a 1/2 inch because it's alcohol. So I ought to make sure that lines up and just go ahead and get those started on there. Like that, like so. And I got a vacuum line here. Oh, I know what it goes to. Okay, I know what it goes to. All right, so there, that's on there. There's no other, there's this thing doesn't have a PCV valve, doesn't have any of that, so I don't have to worry about those hoses. Okay, so we got the carburetor together, except, well, hold on, except for we got to put our squirters in here. And again, on this carburetor, both squirters are the same size. You don't want to forget your one-way check valve. You drop those down in your holes here. I'll show you. So this is where your squirter goes in. The needle portion of that goes pointing down, right in there. And when you remember, if you're out on the track and you take your carburetor apart and you pull your squirters off to change them, and you got the carburetor off the car, you don't want to flip the carburetor upside down because you'll lose these, and then you'll flood your engine out every time you accelerate because those aren't metering any of the fuel. Now these are kind of unique, these squirters. So this is actually what they call a banjo bolt. It's hollowed. A banjo bolt, it's hollow. So the fuel actually goes through that bolt. And you got a gasket here on the bottom between the squirter and the carburetor body, but then you've also got a little tiny gasket in here, and it's hard to see, but I'm going to take it out because I want to put new ones in there. There we go. It actually, when you put it in, it's flat when you put it in, but when you tighten up the hold down screw, it kind of makes it conical, cone shaped. Trying to get it there without destroying it so you guys can see it. It's a really thin paper gasket. There we go. I don't know how well you can see that. There, you see that? Little tiny gasket right there. You see that? That's what that looks like. Okay. So I need to find a paper gasket. A couple of paper gaskets. There should be a couple of paper gaskets in here, I think. I think there is. Well, I only got these real thin aluminum ones. Maybe they're using those. Because I don't see a paper one here. I see one paper gasket in here. And one isn't enough, so I only see one. I got these little real thin, like aluminum coated gaskets. I've got some bigger aluminum coated gaskets here, but I don't think those are it. Oh my gosh, you gotta be kidding me. So now I just found out in this kit I have new needle valves to go underneath those squirters. And they're aluminum. The ones that are in there are brass. Yeah, I don't know. I'm tempted to leave the brass ones in there because I think brass is better than aluminum is. Let me take these out. I gotta try to catch both of them at the same time. There we go. Let me take these and look at them. Let me compare them. And they are the same. I don't know if I should use the aluminum or not because this is alcohol and it's corrosive. I don't know. Aluminum's lighter than brass, but brass is stronger than aluminum too. I think I'm tempted just to keep the brass ones in there. That's just me. So I got 2 brand new ones, but I'm going to use the old brass ones. I just feel better with brass. Hopefully I'm not wrong, but that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so I don't see a paper gasket in here like I showed you guys. All I see is, I see 1 paper gasket, and that obviously 1's not enough. And it's a thick one too, it's not a thin one. So I'm not sure. So I guess they want me to use these aluminum, which aluminum will work. It's fine, no big deal. It'll still conform to shape when I tighten it up. It does fit on there. So I've got a little bit of paper material on here. I want to clean that off. And these squirters are my Chevelle that I've got over there. My hot rod Chevelle. I've got a 31 squirter in the. It's got a vacuum secondary, so it doesn't have a squirter in the secondary. It's only got a squirter in the primary. It's got a 31 in it. But these ones here, somebody marked them with like an engraving pin. It says 52 on them. And these holes, the holes where the fuel comes out, you guys probably can't see that, but that hole where that fuel comes out is massive. I mean, if mine's a 31, this is a 52. It's 20 whatever millimeters or whatever bigger. So it's almost twice the size. So I'm going to put one of those gaskets on the top, and it's going to conform, and then the bottom gasket should just be flat like that. And since these are both 52s, again, the primary and secondary circuit's exactly the same. I can put these on either spot. And as I tighten it up, it's going to conform that gasket to fit inside that squirter housing. Again, you don't have to tighten the snot out of these. You just want to get them good and snug. That's all that matters. About right there, I think is good enough for that one. All right, and then we got the other one here. Okay, so we got to take the paper gasket out of it again. Put that in there for now. That paper gasket there popped right out and it left almost no residue, so that's good. Alright, so now we can put new gaskets on this squirter. Put it in place. There's a little notch in the back of the squirter, if you guys can see that little notch right there. See that? There's a little tab on there that notch goes into, so you know you're lined up the way you're supposed to be. You gotta make sure you do that so you don't damage anything when you put it together. Alright. Again, I gotta tighten that up and it'll conform that gasket to fit properly. Now I'm gonna double check them because I always do. Make sure I don't need to move a little bit more. That one moved a little bit, but not much. That one really didn't move at all. Okay, so I think we're good. I'm looking in here with my parts tray, and I don't really see anything else. I got this washer. I don't remember what that goes to. I don't know. It was on something. It may have been on. It may have been on one of the mounting studs. I don't remember. I can't remember. Okay, so now we've got everything together. Those are old gaskets. They're trash. And I got a bunch of stuff left over here that I don't need. So I shouldn't need any of that. That should be fine. Okay. These idle mixture adjustment screws, I can hang on to them. I don't really need to, but I can. And I just noticed they actually have a rubber O-ring on them. I guess I could take those other ones and put rubber O-rings on them, but the cork should work fine, I think. I think it will. I guess we'll find out. And let me see if I even have four of the rubber O-rings on there, in here. Yeah, actually I do have 4 of them. I don't know if I just switch it or not. I don't know. I'm not too worried about the cork. Should be fine. It's basically just an air bleed, so it should be fine. Okay, so that's pretty much put together. We got a fuel pressure regulator here. and it's got O-ring seals on the ends of it. I just took it apart so I could clean it out. So I got a plug on this end because, wait a minute. Yeah, I got a plug on this end because this end screws into the fuel log. So I need to put that plug on. I do not have new O-rings for that, so I'm going to use what's there. I'm not sure what size this is. Okay, it's also a 1 inch. I thought it might be, but I wasn't sure. Need to snug it up as much as I can. It's just hard to hang on to this. Let me go get a wrench to put on this to hang on to it. I'll be back. Okay. I think this wrench will work. I hope it will. Oh man, are you kidding me? There we go. It barely fit on there. So now I can just use leverage and just kind of pull those two together like that. And get that nice and tight. I'd say that's probably going to be okay. And then this piece in here, I can probably just hold it in my hand. Now I took this thing apart because I wanted to look at the diaphragm in here and make sure it wasn't damaged from the alcohol. And it doesn't look damaged at all to me, so I'm going to reuse it because I don't see anything wrong with it. I know on a gasoline carburetor you want to run about 7.5 pounds of fuel pressure. I don't know what you run on this. I'm not sure, but I'm guessing probably about the same. So this is my diaphragm assembly that goes on there. It goes on there like that. And there's a ball valve right here. If you guys can see that. See that ball valve? It goes in. See how that goes in? So that's what controls your fuel flow, is that ball valve. Because this is coming up, the fuel's coming up through here and into the carburetor. So when I adjust my fuel pressure regulator, this spring can move that ball valve in and out enough to allow fuel to flow. So this is kind of a weird setup, really. So this goes on here like that, and then you got this cup that's got this indentation in it. See that? So it almost looks like a derby hat. And it goes on this screw, sits on top of that screw, just like that. See that? Sits on top of that screw. And then you got a spring here that goes in there. And I don't know if they have different size springs or not. They may, but I don't know for sure. I want to make sure I get this the right position. So I want this, let's see, I want this, I think I want that facing towards, the carburetor. And I got to hold this down. The spring has got quite a bit of tension on it. So I want to hold that down while I start these screws. I need a Phillips screwdriver. Where's my Phillips screwdriver? It's right over there. Okay. There we go. There's that one. I'm going to do the opposite corner next so it kind of holds it in place. When I was running this engine before, when I started it up, it had like, I want to say 10 or 12 pounds of pressure. That's way too much. So again, I can, once I get this all on the car and I get fuel in it, I can turn on the fuel pump and I can adjust the fuel pressure while the engine's not running. So that would be ideal, obviously. I have to worry about a fuel leak and a possible fire. Okay, so I'm going to tighten these 4 screws up. Okay, so I got that together. I got that one snugged out. Now I got to put this one on. This is where the fuel line comes up into the engine. It says in here and out there, so you can actually have two outlets. You can have, if you got a dual feed carburetor like this, you can actually run one line to the front of the carburetor and one line to the back if you want. But most people don't. They just run a fuel log like this. That's pretty common. All right, then I need to snug that up. What size were those? Those were, what were they? Well, that one was bigger. This one here is that's a 7/8. So it must be a 15/16. There we go. Yes. Okay. All right. That should be plenty tight. This has a mounting points here, and you can buy a bracket to mount this on your firewall if you want it there. But on this engine, for some reason, they decided to mount it directly to the carburetor, which is fine. That's what they want to do. I got a fuel pressure gauge here. I was told, and you alcohol guys can verify this. I don't know if it's true or not. This is actually a gauge from Jegs, Jegs is a pretty good brand, and it's a liquid-filled gauge. But I was told that these gauges tend to go bad quite often, and you want to replace them like at least once a season. You want to put a new one on. I do have a new one for it. I'm going to leave this one on there for now until I run the fuel pump to see what it does. Because before, like I said before, it was showing like 9 or 10 pounds of pressure, and it should be around between 7 and 8. So I don't know if if it's bad or it needs adjustment or what. But in this fitting here turns on the nut turns on the fitting, so you can get this set right where you want it to be. So that goes. So basically this is just a lockdown, what that is. So I want to turn this on here until I get it set in place. Come on, there we go. Again, it's got a rubber gasket, but I'm assuming it's probably alcohol friendly, so I'm going to leave it alone. And I want this pressure regulator to kind of sit like that, straight up and down. So now I can adjust this nut, which rotates freely on there. I'm just going to use my crescent wrench, and I can just turn it until I get. And my pressure regulator is rotating on me. I can turn it until I get it positioned where I want it to be. Like so. I'm going to snug it up. Make sure I get it nice and tight. All right, there we go. And then I got a vacuum line on the side of my carburetor here, and this is a manifold vacuum. It goes, I think it's manifold. Let me see. No, maybe it's not. It looks like manifold vacuum to me. I think it probably is. So I got a rubber fuel line over here, and this fuel line goes from that. I got a feeling they had this thing mounted differently before, because I got like twice as much fuel line as I need now. But I'm just going to put it on there for now. I'm not going to cut it, because I may have to take this apart and move it. I don't know. But that goes on there like that. I can always shorten it if I need to, and obviously I'm going to have to if I'm going to put it like that. But I don't know. I'm not going to change it. I'm not going to cut this line, because I don't remember how this was orientated on the car when I took it off. So I'd rather leave this long, and if I have to move this, I can do it without cutting this. All right, I don't have to worry about getting a different piece of line. I can still use this piece of line. Once I get it on the car, if everything lines up, then I can always pull one end of this off and shorten it up and just run it straight from the carburetor to the fuel pressure regulator. And I'm going to take, I don't know if this wrench here is the right one or not. Ooh, it is. Look at that. So I'm going to take, and I'm going to turn this down. I'm going to loosen up this jam nut, because I know it was high pressure before. So I'm going to take, loosen that jam nut up, and I'm going to turn this counterclockwise, which should give me less pressure. So I'm going to turn it about a half a turn, about like that. And then I'm going to put it on the carburetor, put it on the engine, and get everything ready to go and start it up and see how it looks, see what kind of fuel pressure I have. So there's that. Okay, so basically we're done building this carburetor. Should be ready to go on the car. It's all clean. Got a brand new float on that one end. Don't have to worry about fuel leaks. I think my now I talked to you guys about 4-corner adjustment. So normally on a carburetor you've got this is your primary circuit. This is your secondary circuit. You'll have idle speed adjustment, idle mixture adjustment that adjusts your mixture of fuel and air as you're idling. You got one here and one on the other side. You got 2 of them on the front metering block, but this car has a rear metering block that has adjustments on it too. So I can actually adjust all 4 of these barrels separately, independently of each other to try to obtain the best idle I can, which in this engine, idle is kind of a joke because it's like 900 horsepower. So, you know, you got 900 horsepower, you're not going to get good idle out of it because it's got a gigantic cam in it. It's got 16-to-1 compression ratio. You know, it's not going to idle smoothly, and you're going to have to let it warm up before leaving idle at all. So it should be good there. Should be good on the carburetor. I appreciate you guys watching me through this. It's been kind of a long process. I made a couple mistakes, but you know what? I'm not claiming to be some Holly guru expert guy. You know, I made a couple mistakes, but I caught myself. I fixed them. It's not a big deal. I think initially this carburetor is ready to bolt on the engine and hook up the fuel lines and get everything adjusted on the engine. I think it's ready to start this way. Once it's on the engine, obviously I may have to do some float adjustments, but I've got my sight plug I can see to adjust my float level. And then I probably need to do my 4-corner adjustment there to get my idle right. But that's another video. I'm not going to do that right now. So I appreciate you guys watching. I hope you enjoyed this. You know, this is the first alcohol carburetor I've ever built in my life. Okay, I've built a lot of Holly carburetors, but I've never built an alcohol carburetor. So it's a little bit of a trick for me. But I figured I could figure it out, and I did. You know, it's not that big of a deal. Now the trick is getting it on the car and getting it adjusted properly. But I think it's going to run way better. I mean, you guys saw how hard it was to start that first time, and of course, I didn't know you want to put gasoline in a cold engine with its alcohol. I learned that lesson. You know, I'm learning about this car, learning how to drive it, and you know how to start it and all that. So when I start it back up, I'll squirt a little bit of fuel down all 4 barrels, and hopefully it'll fire right up, and we'll see how it does. All right, guys, I appreciate you watching. Stay tuned. I'm gonna get to work on this Vega because I got like 6 weeks before the No Name Nationals comes up, and I want to get this thing running and going so I can take it to the strip and see how it does. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Talk to you later. Bye.